Hello everyone, Frank and Darren back again, the Slaughterland Movie Podcast, and today we are finally getting to the beginning of our best and worst of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And of course, who do we have? The man himself, the Voiceman Dave McRae, who is slotted to play Freddy Krueger in an upcoming fan film called Dylan's New Nightmare. Dave.
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If this whole debacle in the world can end, yes, I'm ready. I got the glove on. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I wear this thing to bed. I wear it to the grocery store. I drive with this thing on, and I wear it even when I'm naked in the shower. So I'm ready to go.
That's why you wear sweatpants, right? You have to go to the bathroom. You only use the thumbs.
That's right. That's exactly it. Just sweatpants. That's it, Frank. How'd you know? The cameras, right. Go on.
So, Nightmare on Elm Street at one time was the granddaddy, the king of slasher movies. The franchise itself. And then I think now Halloween has blown Freddy and Jason out of the water. You sick perverts. Wait until I finish.
The important part of that sentence is out of the water. Because
out of the water. Yeah. Not in the water, not blowing them in the water. Blowing them out of the water.
That's right.
I think that's true. I think Freddy at one time was the king, and then Jason at one time.
Freddy and Jason.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Michael came back. It is now in box office totals, I think is the king.
I think he is.
I think so too. And I've often said this on my own channel. People forget as popular as Michael Myers is now and has been for some time. The 1980s, Michael was virtually non-existent. I mean, you had the original in 78, you had the sequel in 81, which, supposedly ended the Michael story. And then, of course, you had Season of the Witch in 82, which didn't have anything to do with Michael at all. But in that time, between 80 and 88, which was when the next Halloween came out, Freddy and Jason were tearing it up. They were the most popular of the 1980s. They were the kings of the slasher films of the 1980s. Michael Myers
status.
100%. And Michael Myers didn't hold a candle to them, and that's why in the 80s, and this if you were a kid growing up in the 80s or you were old enough to trick or treat, you dress up as Michael Myers, or you try to, because it was virtually impossible to get a Michael Myers mask in the 80s, and even when you did, you got one of those old Don Post ones that looked nothing like Michael Myers. It was just called like the white face or something with the big brown eyebrows, and I had one of those. Parents would go, "Oh, you're Jason," and they think you were Jason. You know what I mean? That's how iconic and popular Jason and Freddy were. So they were huge. They were,
and it's interesting. We were looking at this the other day, and as Frank said on our last video, Michael Myers with Halloween Kills has overtaken all these other guys now. So it's bigger than Elm Street, bigger than Jason, bigger than Scream even. So yeah, it's only just bigger than Scream though.
Only just.
So
it makes me wonder when the studios can get Freddy and Jason going again, because they will eventually get them going again. And what sort of capacity? What's the story? Who's involved? Who knows yet? But it makes me wonder if these are two sleeping giants. And that once they get rolling, and if it's really good, and it becomes really, there's a lot of sleeping Fred heads out there that are just waiting for their time to shine. And a lot of sleeping, Camp Crystal Lakers out there that are just waiting, to really, for their time to shine. Because right now, it's all Halloween everywhere, but I don't know. I think Freddy and Jason maybe looking to make a comeback.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be back.
The one thing about Nightmare on Elm Street when it first came out is that it didn't have a story attached to it. So it didn't lead up to a bloodbath or someone getting killed. It took a little while for Michael to kill Judith. This one with Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy was already there. As soon as you dream sequence, it was already scary. I think that's the one major difference. And plus, you know what? You have Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger all the time. He's a staple. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. You can hide a different actor behind a mask. You can't do that now with Freddy. When they try to do it, it doesn't work.
That's
sometimes.
it. And it's his physicality. It's what he brought to the role. Robert Englund was about, or is about, I don't know, 5'9", 10. He's not a tall guy either. But he was very skinny and slim, and he had that lankiness to him, and he could really move around. And he brought a physicality to the character that was important, even in the first couple of films where he wasn't the wisecracking jokester that he became. His body movement, his physicality was extraordinarily important to the role.
Certainly in 2,
Yes.
definitely the pool sequence in 2 is where there's that one moment when he turns around and stares at the kids and then slowly moves to walk away.
Yes.
His body movements in that are terrific.
I agree.
And then he learns kung fu in part 5.
That's right.
And becomes a chef.
That's it.
So let's get to
seated while the bus is in motion. Oh, that's part 6. Anyway.
the best and worst of lines of Freddy. So the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Dave, who is your best character?
My best character in the original Nightmare on Elm Street has to be Nancy Thompson, Heather Langenkamp. I mean, I think she is, in my opinion, the quintessential one. I mean, there's a lot of good examples of them, but she is a great example of the quintessential final girl. And she's cute, she's pretty, but she's got the girl next door vibe to her, right? You know what I mean? So, which is sort of a staple. I think you see that in Sidney Prescott. I think you see that in sort of other types of final girls. They're not the all dolled up, makeup slut sort of, look high maintenance looking women. They have more of that girl next door natural beauty appeal.
Virginal.
Yeah, right. But what's really cool though is that, and what I like about her is that she has that quality of that she's you can tell that she has strength in her, an untapped strength that she possesses that hasn't been fully realized yet for a variety of reasons. And of course, we know here the home life with her is obviously not the greatest. She's got the mom who's into the bottle. She's got the dad who's probably, a workaholic. And she's got this untapped strength that we see that arc with her. We see her go from this sort of, not timid, but kind of, on the shyer side, sort of uncertain, to really coming into her own and finding the strength that she gains over losing her friends and realizing that she needs to fight Freddy. And I just think from a purely sort of archetypal final girl kind of character, she's like in the dictionary next to final girl. I mean, she's perfect.
Do you think it's because of she's concerned about self-preservation versus like Laurie Strode was more thinking about the kids?
That's a good question. I think I don't know. I mean, obviously when you think of Scream Queen, you think of Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis. I think that's largely because of the lineage there too, because of the history with her mother and Psycho, and then of course the genius idea to cast her in Halloween, and because it was one of the first of its kind, and it was so hugely successful, the highest grossing independent horror movie of all time at that time. She screams a lot in the movie, of course. So I think I see more. Yes, she's a final girl, but I think Heather Langenkamp is a better, Nancy Thompson is a better archetypal sort of example of what a final girl at least became. Of course, the term final girl, I don't think it was coined until the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken, but certainly I think I think she fits that mold. I mean, so does Laurie and everybody, but for me, Heather kind of is that, just sort of a perfect all-around example of it.
Good. Darren, yourself, best character?
I think Freddy. I think the introduction to this character when you first see him in this film is he's the most scariest, I think, in this film that he's been in the whole franchise. It's a close call between this and number 2, but certainly, those opening moments when he's in the street, when he's kind of inflicting all that self-harm on himself and he's cutting his fingers off, the shots of him kind of running down the street with those long arms. And they're all kind of mad images that people experience within dreams. I've got a few things to talk about later on, whereas, one of my favorite moments is something that almost everybody's experienced. And that kind of dream world that they conjure up is, I think, at its most realistic in the first movie.
Yeah.
And Freddy fits into that perfectly. He is, he was the next best thing after Michael and Jason to come along. And he's at his best in this film for sure. The way that he looks, the way that he speaks, and they don't go overboard with it at all. They just keep him as this kind of terrifying entity without leaning into the kind of comedy that comes later on in the series. So I think that Freddy is at his most scariest within this film and the second one, but I think it's a close call. I think this one probably has the edge on it, just because it was the introduction to this new character that we'd never seen before. And they're for sure my favorite character in this movie.
Yeah, Freddy. It could have been like, it's a toss up for me. I could have chosen him as well for all the reasons that you said. He is. I wish this is the way he would have. And again, 1 and 2 so close. I wish this was the Freddy that just remained, forever. I know people love part 3 and the wisecracking, and sometimes people think that part 3 is the nice balance between the two. Maybe he is more wisecracking in 3 than he is scary, though, and I agree with you. I think Scary Freddy is. I mean, it's a nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
it's not a fluffy dream on Elm Street.
Frank? For me, it's Nancy. For everything Dave has said, I think she's a survivor. I could tell even when I first watched this movie for the first time, she was setting up booby traps. She had a plan. She tried to involve, help with her boyfriend Glenn, Johnny Depp, who fucked up when we know that because he dies. And it goes to prove you always listen to your girlfriend if you want to survive, metaphorically and physically. Listen to your girlfriend. But yeah, Nancy for me, of course, is the best character. Now let's get down to the worst character. Dave, your worst.
Well, the worst character has got to be Ronnie Blakely. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, she's great because she's so, out of touch and inebriated and a terrible mother and all these things and
Marge.
So Marge Thompson, that's right. So yep. I say that not in the fact that she is like a terror. It's horribly acted or it's completely miscast, or I don't say she's the worst character because sometimes, when I watch you guys do this, sometimes that is the case. It's the worst character because they're just an awful character. This isn't quite the same with this. I think it's just that she's such a bad mother, and it's just like she's the bad character in that sense. So I do want to preface what I'm about to say with that, so people understand that I'm not talking about that she's just a terrible, terribly written character or something. But man, what a terrible mother! I mean, she's always inebriated, and I love the scene when she goes, Nancy goes to leave or something. And, she's on the couch. Slack.
I don't know how to put the key.
Yeah. I got a key. Slack. She like throws it on the ground. And then Nancy opens her door in the bedroom. In one scene, she looks out. She sees her mother opening the closet. Putting it back in there. And I'm just like, no wonder Nancy feels vulnerable. Like, it's not somebody you can turn to and be like, Mom, listen, I got this problem going. Well, she tries to, but then, the mother takes her. And even when the mother takes her down into the basement and she's got the glove, right? And she takes it out and she's got it like this. And she's like, I got his glove, baby. I took his knife. I won't be able to help you any longer.
And his hat, which he wrote his own name in.
Yes, that's right. It's almost like, Ronnie Blakely ASMR. I think that's what's I really don't know. She's very breathy. She's very breathy in this film.
Don't worry, baby. We're going to put dildos on the end of these fingers. We could share.
So I would say that, in terms of being just a terrible mom, I would say that Ronnie Blakely, Marge Thompson is my worst character in that sense, but it's a great character from the other point of view.
And a lovely lady.
Yes. Oh, fantastic.
Is she like a soap opera actress or something? She's terrible. It's that bit when are they at the they're at the graveyard and John Saxon say take her home and she goes, I've got a better idea.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it?
I'm going to get her some help.
I got a better idea. I'm gonna get her some help. Oh, it's dramatic. It is.
Just thinking about that glove.
It's breathy. It's breathy.
How about you, Darren? Is it the same? Is it Marge?
No, it's not.
Really?
It's Rod actually.
Okay.
And for these are for my own personal reasons. I don't think the performance is particularly bad or anything like that. But growing up as a kid, watching movies in the early '80s with my parents, when it was kind of the age of VCR and a lot of movies were coming to VHS that were taboo. And Nightmare on Elm Street for me at 11, 12 years old was quite taboo, and so we sat down and watched it. And there's a few things that he says that were kind of a bit off color that I can. It's one of those moments where as I can feel myself kind of going a bit like this, and my dad's sort of looking to see if I'm recognizing what these innuendos are and references. And it's the bit when they're walking down the street at the start, and he says they're all talking about the nightmares that they had the night before. And Rod says, "I had a hard on this morning when I woke up, Cheetah. Had your name written all over it." And I remember that as a kid, and thinking, oh God, is my mom and dad looking at me wondering if I know what a hard-on is and all this sort of stuff.
There's 4 letters in my name, Rod. How can there be even enough room for 4 letters on you?
And what does he say to her? Hey, up yours with a twirling lawnmower.
Yes.
Juvenile.
Yes.
So I think it's
great.
Rod. And there's a few movies that have made me feel slightly uncomfortable watching with my parents, and they've kind of suffered within these shows that Frank and I have done because of that. So
Basic Instinct was one for me and my parents. No, we never.
You said
No, we didn't.
Dave sat and watched Jurassic Pork with his mum and dad.
Ask her more questions. Questions.
What's the other one? Back Door to the Future? Is it?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
That's brilliant. I haven't heard that one. That's good. Oh, that Back Door to the Future. That's good. That's so good. That's great.
Oh, we'll get back on track here. For me, it's also Marge, because I thought about her being my own mom. If I was having problems, she would take me to the doctor to get electroshock therapy. She would drug me up, and then she would lock me in my room. All in that order, what she did to Nancy. Practically, just what she would say is, "You're killing me, Mom." Basically. And she's trying to drug her to get to sleep, and so it's just me. It's just a terrible character.
She had bars on the windows too.
Bars on the window, yeah, and plus her mom was so inebriated, she didn't hear Nancy and she didn't even hear that light bulb explode downstairs. She still was asleep.
Yes, that's right.
She and Freddy was shaking her, and she was just like.
I was surprised Marge didn't die of alcohol poisoning, really, at the end of the day,
Would it be funny if Freddy just, shoved the vodka bottle down her throat?
Yeah.
Or something like that as a kill?
Have a drink!
Bottoms up! All right, Dave, so your best line.
My best line, man, this was tough. Oh, this was tough. Okay, so I wrote down 3. So, but I will say there's 2. Okay, the first one is that I will include in this is God. I think is a great line because he is, for all intents and purposes, he is the devil. Mm-hmm. He is the antithesis of God, and to see him there, and when he says it, he holds up the glove to his face, showing you the power that he possesses. which is the ability to take your life in this way, right? So he's got the glove on, he's there, and Tina's like, please God, and he's just like, and he puts it up like this is God. And it's just like, yeah, like there's a lot, it's not just a cool line when you understand sort of what that all means when he says that. It's like, oof, that's scary shit. That's scary shit, as I have the ability to take your life like that. I am God. You know what I mean? This is God. And so that's got to be, when you look at it, like we're so used to it now, you watch it, you watch the movie, it just goes over your head. But when you really sort of dissect it for just a moment, you understand what that all means. It's like, whew, that's fucking like the power that he possesses is unreal. And that's really what that line is all about, is I have the power to take your life like that. And so it's scary. It's scary. And then the other line that I always really liked, even when I was a kid, I understood this, is the line, which it's more suggestive because it's more like, wow, like what kind of, it's that theater of the mind kind of thing. It's not a line that probably anybody thinks about, but I do, is when Glenn is killed and Saxon is over there and he says to his cop friend, he's like, where's the coroner? And the guy says, he's in the John puking since he saw it or something. He's in the John, he's been puking since he saw it. And they don't show him puking. They don't show him what he saw. They don't show the aftermath. It's like, how bad must it be? How bad must it be that the coroner, who sees shit like this all the time, but not this level of shit, is in the bathroom puking because of what he's seen? Like,
imagine
what
if it's his first day.
It's his first day on the job. I think I'm gonna go back to being a convenience store clerk. It's one of those things where I always, because they don't cut away to show you what he saw, to show you how bad it is and what made him puke. They just let you sit with that line. They just let you sit with it. He's been in the John puking since he saw it. It's like, holy shit, like what the hell did he see? Love that. Those are my two. The honorable mention is I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. But
okay. Right. Yeah. Darren, how about yourself?
So for me, it's a line that's used quite frequently in the film. Not quite as much as Evil Dies Tonight, but it is used a few times. And
Evil what?
It signifies one of those sort of involuntary body functions that we have, that ultimately, eventually, we have no control over it.
Right.
And it's the line, don't fall asleep. And when it's established that we're all sort of vulnerable in this dream world, those three words have so much impact during this film. Although, I think it's used probably 4 or 5 times throughout. Yeah. And the whole thing with Glenn, as much as he tried to stay awake, eventually he just drifted off. And that happens to all of us. And knowing that if that happens, we're going to be kind of, we're going to experience this entity. I think it's just terrifying. And I thought it was a great tagline as well for the movie, don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite line in this film, because it means so much to the movie.
It's great. I love when she's talking to Glenn, I think, on the phone, and she's like, whatever you do, don't fall asleep. She really enunciates it. Don't fall asleep. It's great. It's great. Yeah, it's a great line. It's a great line.
I think Glenn fell asleep every time he masturbated because he was promising he got so close to Nancy, kissing her and everything, hopped into her bedroom. He fell asleep and he was like, well, this bitch ain't giving me anything, so I'll just it fell asleep. Right afterwards, everything. He fell asleep.
Everything.
After he talked to her, he fell asleep.
Yeah, it's true.
Or he's just like, oh, this bitch is going on again.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, it is pastel-colored tank top.
Yeah,
Johnny Depp's first role.
He got a good credit and introducing Johnny Depp.
He did. Yep. Yeah.
I even knew something.
For me, my best line, of course, is what Dave just said. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy, and the tongue coming out of the receiver at the bottom. Iconic. Still iconic. You get pictures of that, and it's just Nancy looking down. Yeah. That tongue is there. But also, I like when Glenn dies and the ambulance pulls up, and the paramedics are bringing the stretcher out, and the cop goes, you don't need a stretcher, you need a mop.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yes.
I get tickled every time I hear that.
Yes.
Because the paramedics just sit there and just look at him like, huh? And then they go up there. That's just, of course, no one goes in.
Yeah.
But you love it when you see like when John Saxon's character comes in and the father's there. He's all distraught, but they put a bucket underneath the ceiling because the blood is coming through.
Yes.
And the father has no choice but to turn away and say, "Oh God," because he's still awestruck. But those are my
that's great.
Your worst line, Dave.
My worst line is something that Darren already talked about, which is "up yours with a twirling lawnmower." There's a couple of lines from Rod that could be considered worst lines. I was going through some of the lines, and I'm like, no, that's not. And then I remembered that one, and it's like, yeah, up yours with a twirling lawnmower. He's just a douche all around, and so anything he says, I think, could be considered the worst line of the film. There's other lines that I'm sure are probably worse, but that's the worst line for me. Up yours with a twirling lawnmower.
Darren, yourself.
Now this is, I don't think this is a bad line. I think I would have really laughed at this back in the day. It's just something that we would never be able to put in a film now. And that is Glenn in bed with his TV, his big kind of tube TV at the side of him, and he's kind of watching the TV but listening to music and his kind of hi-fi system at the side. And his mother comes in and questions why he's watching TV and listening to music. And he says, Miss Nude America's going to be on tonight. And she says, how can you hear what she's going to say? And he says, who cares what she has to say?
Yeah. That's it.
So whilst I kind of found that amusing back when it first came out, and probably did this morning, to be honest, but it's something that's kind of wouldn't be allowed today. We wouldn't be able to say something like that. Not in a kind of serious movie anyway.
Yeah.
You also wouldn't be able to report that Tina was 15.
When
she died.
Was she? I never picked up on that. Was she really?
The character was supposed to be 15.
Wow.
Because then Rod was banging a 15-year-old.
I wouldn't
be able to put that.
I think the actress who played her was older.
Yes.
But she was supposed to be 15.
God,
I always thought that was weird because even like for many, many, many years, even going back to my teenage years, I always remember thinking 15. I mean, I think when I was 15, I was like, she's not 15. You know what I mean? I know girls who are 15 and she's not 15.
She's like 25.
Yeah, she feels like she'd be in her early 20s or something at least.
Heather Langenkamp looks young in this. And there's one point in the film where she says, God, I look 20.
Yeah.
But Amanda Wyss...
Yeah.
Amanda Wyss does look like she's somebody in a kind of early to mid 20s.
And in real life, Amanda Wyss at that time was actually 24 years old. She was born in 1960, or at least 23. Because maybe they shot it at the end of 83. And you know what I mean? Actually, I think they did shoot it in 84 because it came out in, November of 84? I think it was towards the end of the year. So yeah, she was at least 23, 24 years old and playing somebody who was 15. So no wonder she doesn't look 15.
15.
You know?
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
My goodness.
It's like, oh, that 50-year-old looks sexy. Oh, she's 24. Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, even just a couple years older, like 17 would have been more believable, but 15?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
John Saxon was 21.
Yeah, exactly. John Saxon. Hey, if it was Charles Cyphers, he would have been.
Oh.
You know?
Well, for me, my worst line is from Mr. Roger Rabbit himself, and that's, everyone's got a dream, young lady. If you don't, you go.
Right.
Clinic.
Yeah.
That's right,
like,
Roger Rabbit.
You're my doctor. You have all these electrodes hooked up to my head, which are probably going to make my head explode. And you're saying if I don't dream, I'm going to go? Why am I here with you?
Right.
And he has that mad poster on the wall at the side of him, doesn't he? Which is like a cat hanging off the side of a tram.
Yes.
Have you ever noticed that? I don't know what
Yes,
the significance is with that at all. I don't know whether it's
an inspirational poster. It's like hang in there kind of thing, you know?
Right, okay. Okay.
You don't want in there. You don't want your doctor saying, there's a commercial going around, I think, for an insurance company we have in the States. It's a doctor going in and says to his patient, "Are you nervous?" And the patient's like, "Yeah." The doctor replies, "Yeah, me too. Well, at least they gave me back my license. All right, I'll see you in there." You're like, nobody says that. Doctor's supposed to say, "Well, we're going to see what's wrong with you and try to help you out." Not
That
like,
whole dream clinic scene, though, is actually a cool scene. And when
the numbers on the computer don't change, though.
Yes.
She's high, though. It's the same fucking numbers. How many years she's getting high?
Roger Rabbit, when he sort of talks, I'm calling him Roger Rabbit. When he starts talking about, the Eddie. It's funny because but the idea, again, we're so desensitized to these things now, but the idea when she pulls out that hat and the look on Ronnie Blakely's face when she realizes that Nancy had taken the hat out of the dream, she's like, and I'm telling you right now, it's great. It's great because she's like, oh my, but the concept, like, wow, what an interesting extra concept to introduce. So now you have the idea that you can be killed in your dreams, like, holy shit. But now you have the concept that's introduced of, but if you grab on, but now you can take things out of your dream, which is an interesting extra layer that they added there sort of halfway through the movie, which I really like.
Maybe she was looking like that because she was like, damn it, why didn't you grab his hip flask or something?
Yeah. But it looks so like...
Do you think she smelled it?
I have his hat. And then she's got the gray streak in her hair, too.
Yeah.
Yep. All right,
He'd written his name in it as well.
Fred Krueger, Mom!
His
Fred
name's written in it.
Krueger!
I tried to get his underwear off. It's the only other thing that had his name on it.
Yeah. Fred. Surprised it did. F. Krueger, Mom! F. Krueger! No.
FK. Dave, your best kill.
My best kill. Well, I mean, this is not. I mean, I think this is going to be everybody's best kill.
Raise your
I'll be
hands.
shocked if it isn't. It is not only. I've talked about this on my own channel. It's not only the best kill in this movie. It could be the best kill in the franchise. It could be one of the greatest kills in the history of slasher movies, and that is, of course, Tina's death. And it's not just the death part. It's everything that leads up to that. Mm-hmm. It's the moment where she's lying in bed and the stones are being tossed at the window. You don't know and that's one of the things I love about the original Elm Street, is that the dreams, by and large, are very grounded. They feel like how we would dream, very real dreams. They take some of the things that happen in the real world that embed themselves into your subconscious, and now they're being relayed to you in your dreams. And whereas as the series goes on, the dreams are so sensational that there's no real sense of reality to them in a lot of ways. And in this movie, you don't know she's dreaming. I mean, if you're watching it for the very first time, you have no idea. There's no hue over the picture that tells you it's a dream, or reverb on the voices. Right. Yeah. It's just, it plays it very real, and you hear it. And then I love when you hear like, Tina. And it's like, whoa, like it's really kind of weird. And then she goes downstairs and she gets to the porch and she opens the door and you just hear, she's like, who is that? And then you just hear one little, oh my God, it's like, whoa, it's so spooky. And she's like, who the hell is that? And then she wanders out into the alley. Now, at this point, if you're watching, you're probably thinking, okay, she's probably dreaming. But there's nothing, it's not sensational or over the top. Then she gets to the alleyway. And she looks down, and then you see the silhouette come in and everything, and the hand along the thing, and the big gangly arms and stuff, and the this is God, and the chasing her, and then in the bed, and the whole thing, and then the fucking thing on the ceiling, and the rotating room, and how they did. It's unreal. I mean, nobody, I don't know if anybody, I mean, I was, 1, 2, 3, I was 5 when the movie came out, but I probably saw it when I was 6 on home video. I don't know if that kind of thing had ever been done in that way, or seen something like that. I mean, it just feels so wild. You know, the way it was executed was unreal. An amazing death. And it was gorier. But the MPA was like, no, you got to kind of have to... Because I think the original plan was to have her fall and the blood splatter and more blood all over the place, seeing more blood and shit like that. Anyway, one of the greatest kills in the history of slashers, as far as I'm concerned. Incredible kill.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and it's that shot of Rod looking up as well while she's on the ceiling, kind of moving.
Yeah, the
around
camera's
and
kind of
everything.
behind him,
Yeah,
and you see
yeah.
him reaching. He's like, Tina!
He's
Tina!
obviously, the way they've done it is he's obviously upside down himself at that point,
Right.
isn't he? And she's
I
the
would
right way up
imagine
with this
so.
revolving room and that. But the
Yeah.
one bit about it that gets me every time when I think, fuck, that must be painful. And it's the bit where she's swinging around really hard and her head hits him in the head.
Right.
And it just looks so damn painful every time.
It looks so real. I mean, I imagine it was something. It was a dummy or
something.
Or a
yeah, but it
stunt
looks
double.
real.
Yeah, and he flies into the corner and the light smashes and goes out and he's in his tighty whities going, you know, it's a Tina. It's fucking like it is. And you know what's crazy is that you don't see Fred. I mean, you see Freddy initially when he's under the blanket and she takes the face off and he's like, and he's got like this skull little face.
Yeah.
But you just see cuts happening, like Rod says, you know, and the way she's going up the wall and stuff. I mean, I can only imagine what it must have been like as a teenager at that time to be in the theater watching that going, oh my God! Like that would have been unreal. This is 1984. Now it's like whatever, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, 40 something or 36 or 38 years ago, I guess, whatever it is now. I mean, Jesus, wow.
The part that thinks she might get away in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when she gets into the house, he may be inside the house. But no, the difference with Freddy and everyone else is that he's always behind you, arm's length, and he catches up to you. And
Or
I
in
thought-
front of you. There's the bit where she's running away from him and she runs into him.
Yeah.
Which is really creepy.
I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, the guy that's running after her doing that is not Robert Englund, because it's Robert Englund who she runs into.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a stunt guy or something that was doing that. But yeah, I mean, just, and then of course, hey, Tina, watch this. You know? He's like, you know, it's funny. And he steps out from the tree. It's like that rear projection or whatever they did to make him come out from the tree or whatever. It's so good. It's like it's a I mean, the whole entire kill's got to be like 3 minutes long or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe 4 minutes.
Iconic.
I'm surprised Frank hasn't mentioned the noisy sex as well, because that's something, isn't it? Earlier on.
You brought up, you pig, right now. With her shirt tearing open and side boob. It's a dummy, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a dummy. I'm not.
Yeah.
I checked.
And Glenn, and to Frank's point earlier, Glenn is lying there going, he's like, because he's, I mean, that is a blue balls, that's
He's
a blue
sexually
balls Glenn.
frustrated.
Yes.
He's a Billy
because
Loomis.
Yes, because he can't get any from Nancy. So
No.
you see him there like, fuck. You know, he's upset. He's upset.
Well, there's only one thing to do. So, Darren, safely assume that Tina is your favorite kill as well.
Yes.
Your best kill.
Yeah,
Mine
absolutely.
as well. Mine as well.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to worst kills. Dave, what is your worst kill in this movie?
Well, I think my worst kill is it's not really a worst, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But again, it's not really bad. It's just not as eventful as the other kills, and that would be Rod's kill. You know,
Agreed.
I think everything is fine about it. It's cool. He walks through the bars and the thing wraps around. But compared to Tina and compared to Glenn, I mean, it just doesn't.
And
you
even
know, so
Marge.
it's- yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you know, through the door. It just was, you know, it's my worst kill, I guess.
It's nothing spectacular.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly if I would think if they would have got to him, I think he broke his neck. I think you hear a crack. I think
Right.
he broke his neck because most people would be like, well, you just got there. You would be able to cut him down.
Right.
He would be able to survive, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can take this part out. It's the Epstein kill. It's just what you have to do.
We can leave that in.
I can leave it in.
We
All
can leave
right.
that in.
All right.
Darren,
I'll say it
you,
again. It's the Epstein kill. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
what it is. You know? Yeah, exactly.
That's why there's no sheets in prisons now anymore.
That's it.
Darren, you agreed? Rod?
No, Tina.
Really? Tina?
Tina's
your
the worst kill?
Yeah.
Tina's my best kill, but Tina,
Right.
there's an element of the Tina kill which I think is terrible.
Ooh.
Here we go.
It's
always
not-
dissecting
This is an
everything.
interesting. No, this is I think this might be a slaughtered lamb first.
And last.
Okay, so it's not the actual kill itself, it's the aftermath. There's a news report on the television, and it staggers me that they put her body in a transparent body bag and couldn't even fucking zip it up. Look at all her arms all hanging out at the side as they're walking down the street, and there's all blood dripping out of it and everything. The
Right.
news crew are filming it.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ, guys, couldn't you be a bit cleaner than that?
It was Glenn's idea to use the transparent body bag, but you know.
Terrible.
It's that arm hanging out as it's like,
Yeah,
Jesus, tidy up first before you bring her out. I know it
Nickel
plays
and
into the
diming
gag
there.
later on, doesn't it, with her
Yes.
in the body bag in the school and
Right,
everything. But do they
right.
really have transparent body bags now?
No.
You know what? It's,
Full
it's
body
funny
condom?
It's funny you bring that up because I actually tried to look for something like that for It's Me, Billy. And I'm not...
I thought you was going to say just for personal use.
just for personal use. No, but at the end of It's Me, Billy, we have Justine in the bag. That's actually a body bag. That's an actual body bag that apparently you can order body bags off Amazon, folks. They're called cadaver bags, and
Plan
there you
ahead.
go. And
Alexa will tell you where to bury it.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And it was beige, not clear. I don't think clear body bags exist, but maybe they did in the 80s. I don't know.
Remember that, folks. When you buy your clear body bags from Amazon and it says customers also bought this shovel and line.
That's right. That's right.
All together
That's
for the low
interesting.
price.
Okay, that's interesting.
Of course, my weak kill is also Rod. It's does nothing for me.
No.
Unless he was at the end of also masturbating, then of course it would have some kind of a euphoric effect. But
Right,
he wasn't doing
right.
that as well.
Wasn't doing that at all. So that is what it is.
Dave, your best moment. What is the best moment of this movie for you?
There are so many moments. You could even say the Tina kill is the best moment of the film. You could say that. And I was going to say that, but so people watching can, you know, that certainly is probably one of the best moments of the movie. But for the sake of just changing it up a bit and not being so repetitive, one of my favorite moments of the movie, no doubt, and it's something that if I'm watching the movie for the first time, or I'm watching the movie again, but it's somebody else's first time seeing it, it's one of these scenes that I will watch them watch it, you know, because I want to see their reaction to it, which is the bathtub. When Freddy's when Freddy's, I guess it's a claw, when his glove comes up out of, I mean, I again, you know, a lot of horror movies, obviously they replicated that in the remake, but we've seen things that are like that kind of thing. We're so desensitized now when it comes to this kind of stuff. But watching that movie in the 80s and watching her, and then all of a sudden you get that view, and I'm sure there are a lot of young teenage boys that were like, oh, but then all of a sudden, up comes, it's like, oh my, like it's, what a not only are you most vulnerable asleep, there's a saying, I forget if I'm saying it correctly, but there's a saying that is, you're no more closer to death than you are when you are asleep. And that is because, you know, you're not aware of what's going on. Lots of people die in their sleeps. I mean, you know what I mean? So you're very vulnerable when you're asleep, and to be asleep in a bathtub with water is a whole extra layer that's there. And then now you have to worry about drowning, but then you have Freddy's glove coming up. It's just the shot, the way it looks and the way it's coming up to you like this and shit, is probably one of the best moments in the film.
It also must have been a nightmare to film, because I'm not quite sure how they did it in terms of getting whoever was operating the glove underwater, but that whole setup with her, and she was only 19 years old, having to get her to settle in the bath in that position like that, whilst getting this other actor and the camera crew the back end of the bathroom.
That's right.
But also, he's got to go under the water. I don't know whether the whole person was under the water or whether it was just the glove. But then that kind of, we got to wait now until the water settles. Because the water's still before the glove actually starts to come out.
That's right.
So it must have been painful to set up that.
There is behind the scenes footage of it. It was built obviously on a set because they had to get underneath. And then the shot of her where you see some side boob and she's flailing away underneath the water, that's actually done in a pool. But yeah, it was on a soundstage. Absolutely. There was, I forget who it was. It wasn't Robert Englund. It was somebody else that had the shirt on with the glove. And I forget who it was. For some reason, I feel like he had a mustache. Maybe a lot of people, because it was the 80s. I don't know why.
John Carpenter.
Was it Atkins?
It might have been Atkins. I don't know why. I have this feeling he had a mustache. But there's BTS photos of it. There's a video of it, or at least photos of it. And yeah, he had to hold his breath and come up like this, and then come close to the camera. And I don't know how many times they shot it. Probably a couple, and away you go. But just that moment, because it's so unexpected. It's so unexpected. You're like, oh my God. And how vulnerable,
I'm checking IMDb to see if Tom Selleck's got any uncredited roles at the moment.
Well, mustaches were huge in the 80s, I mean, even Savini had one, I think. So,
Could you imagine if they did the Apocalypse Now version, where he just...
That actually would... You know what? If you were to remake that scene, that's what they should have done. They should have had Freddy's face come up. Yeah, come up like this. That would have been amazing, You just see like all the oh my God.
He just spits at her, just goes...
Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be good.
What about you, Darren? Your best moment?
I'd put down two. Briefly, I think the school nightmare scene is when she's looking for Tina after she sees the body bag. There are just so many little subtle nightmare elements there that are just kind of brought into that, with things like all of a sudden leaves in the corridor and the various noises, and then the kind of hall guard morphing into Kruger, and just all those kind of noises in the boiler room as well, which are kind of
running in the hallway.
Yeah, I think that whole sequence there is really cool. But I think the one moment in this movie that's always stayed with me, and I think a lot of people have experienced this, and it's within a dream, and it's that kind of trying to get somewhere but not being able to get there. And it's perfectly done in Poltergeist when Jo Beth Williams is trying to run down the corridor,
The zoom
and
dolly.
it kind of elongates and
Dolly zoom.
and and it's there's a similar kind of moment in this. It's not a camera technique or anything, but it's just her nightmare trying to stop her to get from getting upstairs in the house. And it's as she goes up the stairs, her feet go through the stairs into all that goo, and you get that score going. As she's
Yes.
and it's I've had this experience. It's that experience of not being able to get somewhere to help or to get out of somewhere. And I think they did it perfectly in that sequence when she was going up the stairs. I think that's really the stuff of nightmares, is that.
I love that scene. There's two things though that I will say, and the first is that I think that was Bob Shaye's idea, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think Bob Shaye. The viewers watching can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Shaye's idea. He wanted to do it. Wes didn't want to do it, I don't think, but Shaye was like, "No, I don't want to." And maybe even Shaye directed that shot or something.
Okay.
I think there's something with Bob Shaye, Robert Shaye's. You know him in the on the credits. And that shot, there's got to be something there. I'm almost positive. And the other thing is though too, is that you can tell there's one thing that she puts her foot through where you can actually see it already ready to go.
Yeah.
And I always was like, because you can see it. And I remember thinking, I don't know if that's because the take they did was, the second take or the third take, or it's just because when you're setting something like that up, you have to, I get it, but You
They
suspend
weren't
your
banking on
disbelief a little bit.
4K back then, were they? I don't
No,
think.
they weren't. They weren't. They weren't. No, but that's a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's a scene, a shot that I've continued to want to see all the time when I watch the original, and it still terrifies me. And I'm introducing it now to my 6 and 2-year-old because
Perfect
they're going to be well adjusted later on in their
Perfect
life too.
age.
And it's of course Freddy and his long arms. I think that is so iconic. I think it's so scary. I laugh. I get scared every time I see it because it's like, okay, I could try to outrun this person by going the opposite way. No, he's taking up the full length of the alley, and he could grab you anytime he wants. He's laughing at you, of course, and then he starts running at you with regular arms. I just think it's a great moment seeing him the first time. You're like, look at the fuck of these arms, how long they are, Jesus Christ. And
Well, it's very surreal, isn't
his
it?
glove is scratching the side of the wall at the same time. And then you realize, as soon as you get older enough, his one little arm, his one hand looks smaller than his head.
Yeah.
You know, almost like it's Scary Movie 2. But I think
and he's enjoying it too, right? He's like, Tina.
Yeah, he's laughing. Oh,
He's really enjoying it.
It's such a great moment for me. But
Yeah, right up to This Is God. It's great. Yeah, it is great. It's very surreal, very dream. It's eerie. It's eerie. It's an eerie image.
This beginning of this movie really kicks you in the face really quick. There's no suspense leading up. It's just ultimately you're in a bad dream as soon as you start out. And then you're dreaming about Glenn falling asleep with sheep in an alley.
Well, speaking of that, you see the lamb in the dream, which of course is symbolism for that she's the sacrifice. She's going to be, you know what I mean? So
and also when you count sheep when you go to sleep,
that too.
It's all that stuff. It's everything.
You count Robert Shays as you go to sleep.
In leather, which we're going to get to in our next one.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave is going to be back with us for part 2, Best and Worst of Nightmare on Elm Street.
I am.
Freddy's Revenge.
Yes.
And on that note, stick to the roads.
And the best of luck.
Cheers.